we call this gathering not for fun. Why we are here is actually based on our own experience in the industry of real estate. You know, our company has a vision. The vision is about empowering people through real estate. So it's about people, not even about things, or about people. So we have tried, you know, in all our capacity, in all our sincerity, to want to empower people through real estate. The question is this: are we satisfied? You want to say, no, we are not satisfied. Then sometimes you think, is this problem unique to us, or what is wrong with us? But we now find out that, oh, this problem of housing, it's an industry thing. There are several players in the industry, not only developers. So why have we not been able to achieve affordable housing the way we really want it? Of course, we have done enough to achieve for a lot of people, but we're not satisfied. And we've attended a lot of seminars, conferences talking about this issue about affordable housing for Nigerians. And this is a thing we are passionate about, but we are not yet there according to our orders. So we now called together every industry player. That's why we call together the government, the developers. There are several colleagues here, the industry players, the building material companies, and the realtors, and so on and so forth. Affordable housing in Nigeria, is it a possibility? Is it a probability? Or is it a fluke? So it is high time we want to face the reality. Can we achieve affordable housing in Nigeria? Then what do we need to do? If it's possible, let us know. If it's not, then this is what will tell us that is reality, and that is the reason why we are all together. So I believe that at the end of the discourse, we will definitely arrive at the conclusion whether affordable housing is a possibility in Nigeria, or a probability, or a fluke. Thank you very much.
The theme of this conference, affordable housing in Nigeria, possibility, probability, or fluke. Could it be more timely or relevant? Affordable housing is not just a basic necessity, it is a fundamental human right. Yet, for far too many Nigerians, it remains an elusive dream. Before I proceed, it is imperative to recognize that the challenge of affordable housing extends far beyond the borders of Nigeria. Across the globe, from bustling metropolises to remote villages, millions of people face daunting reality of inadequate and unaffordable housing. The global housing scheme crisis is reaching critical proportions, with projections suggesting it could impact a staggering 1.6 billion people by the year 2025. Shortage of land, lending, labor, and materials are worsening this crisis, making it increasingly difficult for individuals and families to secure adequate housing. The UN Habitat has also emphasized the urgent need for affordable housing, with an estimation that 3 billion people will require access to suitable homes by 2030, hence necessitating the construction of approximately 96,000 new affordable homes every day. This challenge is particularly acute, with a rapid growing population and urbanization rate on the rise. The demand for housing has reached unprecedented levels, yet the supply of affordable homes remains woefully insufficient, leaving countless Nigerians trapped in a cycle of housing insecurity. Here in Lagos State, the epicenter of Nigerian urbanization, the housing crisis is keenly felt. The growing population, coupled with limited land availability and soaring poor property prices, has made it increasingly difficult for ordinary citizens to access decent and affordable housing. As the gateway to Nigeria's economic prosperity, Lagos must lead the charge in addressing these critical issues. It is, however, my firm belief that affordable housing is not merely a possibility or a fluke. It is a probability within our grasp, but realizing this vision requires both and innovative solutions.
The Nigerian National Policy on Housing described housing as the process of providing safe, comfortable, attractive, functional, affordable, and identifiable shelter in a proper setting within a neighborhood, supported by continuous maintenance of the built environment for the daily living activities of individuals and families within the community, while reflecting the socio-economic and cultural aspirations and preferences. I mean, so this is how we have defined housing as a people, and of course, you and I know that we're still very far from meeting the elements of that definition. Affordability is a very generic concept. It varies from place to place. It varies from time to time. It varies from income bracket to income bracket. So what is available to the Honorable Commissioner and KBC as big men may not be affordable to commoners like us. The generally acceptable guideline for affordable housing is a house that the total cost does not exceed 30% of the income of that household. And the 30% is not just about what you spent on the house. 30% of what you spent on the house and all utilities. That is the standard definition. So whenever a person spends more than 30% of your median income on housing, it is no longer affordable. Land is the most important ingredient in affordable housing. Good title land. The land tenure system is complex. So you have the land use act 1978, but below the land use act you have the unveils, you have the land grabbers, you go to site, so the development risk is so high. The cost of perfection is high, title uncertainty is high. Every day you'll hear reports of 1,000 houses being demolished, 500 houses being demolished. In an environment where we're talking of acute shortage of houses, you have to ask yourself, how should this be? Land cost is high. In 2018, I was in the US to attend NARIT. NARIT is National Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts. I went to attend the investor conference. And during the conference, there was a fireside chat with a man called Sam Zell. Sam Zell is late now, he died last year. One of the biggest real estate entrepreneurs of our time, So they had a fireside chat with him. And they asked him, this was in 2017, so they asked him that, sir, how was business in 2017? Remember, this conference was taking place in 2018, June. So in another 2 weeks now, the conference is coming up again. So they asked him, how was business in 2017? Oh, he said 2017 was a very tough year, that they didn't do very well, because their company only managed to deliver 572,000 units of houses to their store. And I was wondering. So at the end of the fireside chat, I walked up to him. I said, did you say 5,000 of? No, he said 572,000. One company. Now add all of us in Nigeria together, federal government, state government, everybody, perfection group, everybody, Kuliade, all of us, me, everyone. I'm not sure we'll do 20,000 in a year. Maybe we need to do that analysis. I'm not sure whether we'll do up to 20 or 30. All of us put together. Everybody put together. I mean, the last government did less than 10,000 in 8 years anyway. They did 9,154 houses in 8 years. So, what are the challenges? Land is part of the major problem. And added to the issue of land is the question of title. I always love to talk about title, because it's an area that I know that the day we get the issue of title right in this country, financiers will come up with money, but today nobody wants to part with large scale funds when you're not sure whether or not 5 or 10 years after you have built. And there are so many examples that you can find in Lagos, and it's not only in Lagos. The Iwaya problem. Iwaya, the case between the community and the church went on for 38 years. After 38 years, the court now awarded in favor of another person. So just imagine how much title has changed hand in 38 years. You know what happened in Agidingbi? In Agidingbi 2 years ago, over 2,000 houses was affected. The case was in court for over 40 years. Osaka, even Ajahia, between Nigeria and Olumego. It depends on who you bought your land from. A lot of people now, They are sitting on kegs of gunpowder. But there are so many cases in court and court of appeal. So when you have that situation of uncertainty of title, it becomes difficult for investors to put the kind of fund that will require in affordable housing. So that's a major problem. The other problem I've identified is the issue of infrastructure. Infrastructure drives housing. Anywhere where government invests in infrastructure, you will see that housing development happens almost automatically. A lot of the roads in Lekki were done by developers. I've been on the site that we've had to invest significant money. When I was MD of UPDC, that road from Mobile to the end of the road had to be tagged by my company. That's a primary infrastructure because it's not an infrastructure within the estate. So you provide your roads, you do your water, you do your sewage treatment, you do everything. And yet you still have to pay taxes and charges. And I was arguing that the basis of land taxation is on earned increment theory. The law says that the value of your land has been enhanced by facilities that you do not provide. That is why you have to pay taxation. But when you are the one that are providing these facilities, what is the basis of that land use charge and everything? So it's challenging, it's tough. The other problem is funding. And funding is at two ends. You have the project funding and you have retail funding. Large-scale funding is not available. What you have is short-term funds. And short-term funds is income. The gestation period of a typical project is 36 to 48 months. That's not the kind of thing you do with 3 months' money. And you're now rolling over. You are dead. If you are not careful, 2 years from now, when we are doing housing conference, you are back in your village because you will not be able to cope, to pay. And there are a lot of developers who have really burnt their fingers. So project funding is a problem. Retail funding. Mortgages are hardly available. I always do a simple calculation. If you take a mortgage at 18 or 20%, it means that in 4 years, you have paid for that house twice. The house that's supposed to cost you 50 million, you have paid 100 million. That's why there's so much mismatch in this economy. Because next, when you now want to sell, you are looking at how much. There are technical challenges, design. We're still building the Baba Sherif and Baba Toib. We're still calling Baba Sharafa, Afar. We're still calling all these people to build. How many houses can you deliver? How can you deliver to scale? I've said that 2 things must happen if we must solve this problem. Number one is that we must commoditize housing. We have to be able to buy and sell houses the way you sell any other commodity. Until we get to that level that you can buy and sell houses the same way you buy water, gala, and whatever, the industry cannot grow. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we have to industrialize the process of delivering houses. Today, we are still building houses. We have to start manufacturing houses. So we need to overcome those technical challenges. Legal and regulatory, of course, I can speak on this for the whole day. When you want to build houses, you now have your title. You will now go to Lagos State, you go to LASFA. You go to LASFA, Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority. Then you go through the process. You submit 7 copies of this, 7 copies of that. Then you get your approval. After that approval, you can't go to site. You now have to go to LAPSCA and go and ask for permission to go to site. LAPSCA will now tell you to submit the same document. I was asking my people someday that LAPSCA and LASFA, they are under the same ministry. Why can't you just have a portal where everybody log into the portal? You see what I've submitted. Rising cost of housing delivery, I can talk about this. Take a simple example. Look at the cost of surveys in Lagos. Have you guys seen the new cost of surveys? In the zoning, there are some zones that for a 500 square meter house, the cheapest cost of survey is about 750,000 naira. If I was looking at the document yesterday, even the zoning, the zone Agege with this. So I look at Agege, how much do they sell here, land here? I want people to start paying this, but The reality is that it's garbage in, garbage out. As a developer, all these costs will add up. I want to talk about return on investment. People always like to avoid this. This is a major issue. If I do premium or luxury development, my return on investment is between 25 and 30%, sometimes 35%. But if I do affordable housing, I will struggle to do 4 to 6%. And let's not forget that capital is rational. Capital will go to where it gets the best. I always say that investment capital is rational. You can predict the direction that capital will go. So when you are pitching to pension funds, and they will ask you, say, why? In this country, MPR is 24.75%. It means that if I have my money riskless, this is sovereign wealth investment. I'll just cross my leg. I'll put my money, I will earn 24.75%. Why will I trade? Why will I risk my money over you with development on Modular, market risk, with changes in this, changes in that? And there are alternative investment instruments. There's cryptocurrency, there is this, there is that. People who have money, they sit down and they take the best decision with their capital. So whenever we talk affordable housing, we have to start talking. And that's why I belong to the school of thought, sadly, that you cannot use market-driven solution for affordable housing. If you look at all over the world, you can't use market-driven solution. Even if you deliver houses at 3 to 4 million, there are people who cannot afford it. Which is why one of the elements of Renew Hope's strategy, which is good, is that one of the elements is National Social Housing Fund, which I understand is also in the pipeline. All over the world, and I've looked at Canada here, Latin America, and a few other. I looked at US and UK. What is the common thread? What is the common thread in all these countries that have been a bit successful in affordable housing? The common thread is that governments lead the effort to build a coalition of all the partners. The developers, the financier, the landowners, the off-takers, the mortgage guarantee scheme, the mortgage refinancing. You bring everybody together and you set a threshold of target. That's what they did in Kenya 2 years ago, and they're making. You can also check out Kenya. They're making significant progress. So what did they do in Egypt? The first thing they did was to enact a social housing law in 2014. Now, I hear all over the news, even the Commissioner for Housing also said it, that housing is a right. In South Africa, after China, South Africa is the other country that has delivered a number of affordable houses. So to answer the question whether it is a possibility or a few, my view is that affordable housing is possible. But there are certain levers that you must pull. And that is what I think we need to do as a nation.
Advocacy is a powerful tool for driving change and addressing societal challenges. In the context of housing, advocacy plays a crucial role in ensuring that every individual has access to decent shelter and affordable homeownership. This, my paper, explores the concept of advocacy and its role in addressing housing shortages in Nigeria. We thank God for the social media today. I saw a lot of people raising up their phone. I will not find it funny that in the next few minutes, I see some of the things that are happening here on social media. And that has made it so easy for us to talk about anything that is not good about housing. Use your phone to demand for a better housing. Show the picture of where you are living or the condition of environment where you are that is not befitting. Share it and let somebody see it. If a government sells you a property and the property is not working, send it to somewhere. Let people see it. I want to use this opportunity to inform you that in the last 15 years, even though we started the advocacy 20 years ago, we have been working with EFCC. What brought us to TFCC? Because we have a lot of people in Nigeria who are buying property from real estate developers, and after collecting their money, they cannot get the location. In FCT, in Abuja, people are finding it easy to come and tell us, to send a message to us, and when they call hello, we have a live program where they may call. Good afternoon, how are you? The Housing TV, we are on channel 149 on StarTime. Channel 149 on StarTime. They make a call, is the Housing TV? I bought a property from Femi Orile, Nigeria Limited. I have my receipt here. Since they collected 2 million from me, I've not been able to see them. In fact, the office where they collected the money, they've relocated from there. That is part of advocacy. I want to inform you here that even this year alone, we have recovered millions of naira from a lot of people because they fear media than court of law. What is the role of advocacy in housing? Advocacy in housing, empowering our voice, and it protects our rights. If we refuse to express ourselves, we will not be able to get any voice. I want to mention to you this morning that we have the case of National Housing Fund, Federal Mortgage Bank. At various times, I can tell you, we have engaged them. And I remember at the time they wanted to amend the constitution, the law, the Act of National Housing Fund that allowed them to be deducting 2.5%. That they wanted to change it to 5%. We say you cannot do that. Because the 2.5% itself, we have not seen people benefiting from it. And on that note, you cannot continue. And that is exactly what we are saying. If you are an association, I have NGOs like Nigeria Bar Association, then I say NGO, I mean non-governmental organization. NGO like Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. NGO like Nigeria Society of Engineers. NGOs like Nigeria Institute of Quantity Survey. NGOs like Nigeria Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuer. Their main business is advocacy. First person to talk to us, we need you to talk to us using the perspective of an estate developer who is on the field, who is feeling the pinch on some of the government policies. What is your whole position about affordable housing? Is it possible? What can government do? What are you doing in your home?
Affordable housing, just like Akino speaker like Mr. Akino already mentioned, affordability is relative, right? So I will establish that fact. It's also very important to look at what we consider to be the causes, probably the effect, and the solution, right? I like to give these statistics. I'm a strong advocate of environment, and I mean environment to a large extent influences your thought pattern. It influences the way you think, and so if environment is not ideal, an ideal environment for me is an environment that will boast of basic amenities and infrastructures. Right? If environment is not ideal, it impacts on your thought pattern. And as a man thinking is hard, so is he. So that's why the chances of someone raised in Ikoyi or Banana Island, the chances of him to succeed is higher than someone raised in Moshi or Ajibune, because they are both victims of the environment. So more reason why governments need to pay more attention to the environment. Now the affordability, I mentioned that is relative. However, I like to look at the socio-economic strata that we have, the conventional one. You know, we have the apex, where we have the high income earners, then the middle income earners, and the base of the pyramid is where we have the low income earners. Interestingly, this is where we have the majority of people that are affected with affordability. Right now, the base of the pyramid that is made of the low income earner also is divided into the lower cadre and the upper cadre. Now, in Nigeria today, you are considered to be a low-income earner if your take-home at the end of the month, either from your business or from your 9-to-5 work, is probably less than 250,000, right? So you can imagine the number of people we have at the base of the pyramid in Nigeria who are dealing or battling with inability to own their home because the purchasing power is not there, right? So affordability for me, we've got to tackle a whole lot of stuff Majority has said that the keynote speaker will be driven by the government. However, we need to start paying attention to certain things. One of such would be, for me, consumer behavior. Right? When I mean consumer behavior, the consumer in this part of the world still have this mindset of the conventional construction methodology, bricks, mortar, and all that. Now, if we must start manufacturing houses that we need, unfortunately, we don't even have accurate data in Nigeria. Everything is estimated, including housing deficits. Our population is estimated as a nation. The housing deficit we have as a nation is also estimated. There's no actual data of the deficit we have as a nation, not even from the statistic bureau. Now, having established this assumption, if we must deal with this, we need to deal with the consumer's behavior. We must look beyond having a 3-bedroom for me and I alone, and start embracing other methodology that is outside the conventional building or construction methodology. Because we must move beyond building houses into manufacturing houses. If you must arrest this menace or address this menace of housing deficit, increasing housing deficit, consumers' behavior must change. I remember some few years ago, some individual organization were driving dry construction, and it was not acceptable by consumers with different excuses. Oh, there is probably there is no bullet penetration, whatever, and it's soundproof, and some few excuses. If we must address this menace, our consumer must change their mindset. So that's number one for me. And if changing their mindset will require that we embrace innovative construction. So we must go beyond the norms, right? Like what is going on, like it was mentioned in Egypt, mentioned in China, and so on, Japan particularly. Even Rwanda, we must go beyond the norms and embrace that. That would be my number one. Then, we also must tackle capacity building. It is a big shame that we have to export expatriates from Togo, Cameroon, and Ghana to deal with some of our basic things. So we must, and this is one of the things we really want to focus on, right? We want to encourage artisan. So we are also calling on the general public to also put in place beyond the government. Let's focus. I wouldn't say the forward of our university institution is overemphasized. I wouldn't say that. However, there are other means of education beyond the forward of our universities. People can be educated on skills. I mean, we lack, the challenge we have in this industry with artisan, we have challenge with competence, capacity, and character. A number of these artisans lack competence. They don't even know what to do. There is no attention to details. And coupled with the fact that they don't even have a capacity, they are not building capacity, and you can't trust them. So these are issues we have. If we must solve if we must provide solution to affordability, I'm going to yield the floor why I mentioned this last one, which is considered to be very important. Now, rather than being an advocacy group, we also want to promote best practice among developers. Developers are the ones that bridge the gap between the demand and the supply. So we want to promote best practices among developers. Doing the right thing, standard operating procedure that is globally acceptable, right? We've had about sharp practices as mentioned by our facilitator and even the speakers, particularly Barrister Festus, that focuses on advocacy. We have a number of our developers who are not doing it right. Some of us who are privileged to practice rather in the United States and some African country, we've come to embrace, you can't get it right doing it the wrong way. It's just a common saying. You can't keep doing the same thing, same way, expecting a different result. So as a developer, we are driving at radar. Every one member of radar, particularly developers in Nigeria, must embrace best practices, right? We must embrace best practices in delivering our products. Our wells must be abound in terms of turnaround time, in terms of quality delivery, in terms of customer satisfaction, and even after sales services that we lack in Nigeria.
I want to go to the architect in the house. I want to hear your perspective. You people are the ones designing the houses. How does the design of the houses, how does it affect the cost of the houses? What is your thinking as an architect? We have just reconstituted your role of Akwa today.
There are socio-cultural aspects to these things, and some of them include acceptability. My friend here mentioned technology-driven innovations, use of alternate materials and building systems. The fact is that until these things become culturally accepted, it may not fly. Unfortunately, these are alternate technologies and materials that are at times up to 40-50% cheaper than the current brick and mortar we normally use. Aside from that, there are several things architects conceive. If you are an architect, you are being called an architect. When we talk about affordability, it is not just the immediate cost of construction, but you have to consider the cost in use, maintenance, facility management over the lifetime of a building. Unfortunately, there is too much concentration on the initial investment. However, yes, there is something I noted here which I don't want to forget. That is capacity building, which you mentioned. I will want Reagan to consider the issue of partnering with professional bodies. In this regard, yes, I'm an architect, but I want you to consider partnering with the Nigerian Institute of Building in terms of the institute assisting you to train and certify artisans throughout the building chain. Okay? You don't need a certification. Incidentally, I'm also an academician. All right? But then, we lay too much emphasis on paper qualification. It is the skills that we need to deliver quality works at affordable rates. If you can partner with Nigerian Institute of Building, for example, it's not a question of somebody knowing mathematics, pass JAM, pass this, pass that. All you need, although there has to be some level of quality assurance, that is why you may need some kind of certification. The institutions the government had set up prior to this to train artisans has been corrupt. I think we have serious issues with corruption and integrity in Nigeria. The so-called technical colleges here and there, grade 1, trade test, blah, blah, blah. Most people now just go there to collect the certificate without going through the training.
Thank you. Organization, as a reactor, the mission of your business. I said they accuse you of being the one increasing, adding your own to make the price to be high. What is your own perspective on how we can get affordability in the area of housing?
All right, my name is Goodness Usman. Of course, I'm the realtor, and I'm not the queen of landlord because I want to again say thank you. This is really very key, and I'm going to address the quote that is very popular. when there is, even like Mr. Tony was saying earlier, there are uncountable cases actually of people being defrauded by developers, and then when they are mentioning this case, we're not left out. So, it's the realtors, they are the one, they're the thieves, they are the da. And to be honest, there is a right to it, and then there is a no to it, because to every rumor they say, it all boils down to corruption. I mean, some realtors are in the business to, it's just about the money. For somebody like me, is not about the money, to be honest, because when you get into an industry, after a while, you build a brand, you realize it's not even about the money. Now, breaking it down to affordable housing, to be honest, I always have this headache to say, why is it that it is so difficult for us, as big as Nigeria is, as exposed as Nigeria is, as much as we have brilliant minds in Nigeria? Because the truth is, anywhere all over the world that I am, I'm proud to be in Nigeria because we have brilliant minds in Nigeria. So I wonder, why is it so difficult? Now, I'm going to pick my very first point, why it is difficult for affordable housing to be achieved. Even though people like Mr. Nee is doing everything to make it possible, there are no affordable housing right now. That's just the truth. No matter how Mr. Nee and a couple of other developers are trying, it is not realistic. And it all boils down to first thing, corruption. Now, it's so bad. Like he was saying earlier, it has eaten into the entire system. It's that bad. Let's break it down to artisans, like he was saying. We don't have good hands, right? You will find out that even the little ones we have, there's even corruption. So he is developing the projects now. He has a very good mind about it. And then he brings in hands that are supposed to be good hands to take care of different aspects. And then you find them not also committed to delivery. So I feel like before we start putting the whole corruption, quote and unquote, on the entire government, we should start with ourselves. Everyone in this room. How are we playing a part to this? Whether you and I like it or not, if you're watching me online, if you're not watching this live, you're watching a recorded version, it starts with you and I.
Manufacturer of building material, because I don't know how many percentage of your product are sourced here. And I know maybe you are facing the problem of how to get enough dollars. You need your home solution to this problem.
I think one important thing, let us go to numbers briefly. If we look at the total worth of the real estate industry, it's about $136 billion. Now, $136 billion growing at a CAGR of 3% year on year, and this study was done over a 5-year retrospective study. What it just shows is that there is the opportunity in Nigeria. Now, one shocking thing I must tell you, moderator, sir, is 90% of these materials are actually imported. So that is putting a lot of pressure on completing house projects, which will now impact you and so forth. But what do we need to do as a team? I think what we need to do as a team is, look inward into innovation. Now, innovative building solutions are very, very important as it were now. And if we must look into innovative building solutions, we should also look at the areas or the countries that have similar retail data as we do. An example would be India, Pakistan. How are they building houses there and how are they accommodating over 1.2 billion people in such a way? If we bring maybe 35% of that knowledge base here, what does that now return to us? That's number one. So I will give you an example. I was in Abuja and a friend of mine, he went to Ife, I went to ABU, and he told me that for him, when he wants to build platform, when he wants to build deckings these days, as they call it, he says he doesn't use concrete. Why should he? And he said he learned this thing in Germany. And why can't we just need to calculate the load factor that is coming on that building and apply it accordingly, finish. The other thing I would like to say is that in the company I represent, which is CTW, we build walls.
And our solutions for screening, for instance, we got it from India. And I can tell you that tomorrow we are bringing a whole factory of that same solution in Nigeria, because it's not worth it, carrying forex every day to go and look for this thing. So we are bringing it here because the raw materials are here.
Now let me go to the man beside me. Why Real Estate Developer Association of Nigeria have their membership from individuals? You have your membership from state governments. You have LSDPC, you have Ogun State Housing Corporation, you have Enugu State Housing Corporation. On that note, I believe you have some knowledge of what is going on as related to solving housing, affordable housing problem.
If we were to look at it generally, we have to create a basic for determining affordability. And in this case, we have to look at the people that actually need houses. It's not about mass producing housing in this country. And the challenges we are having is that in building, particularly by most developers, they don't do need assessment of those who need houses. They just believe that, well, we are out to make money and there are buyers. And we know people who can afford those houses. And that is why, for instance, in Abuja, you have so many houses that have been developed, no occupants, no buyers. And the same thing is happening in Lagos here. Most of the houses, particularly in this corridor, are not affordable. And they will never be affordable. And so because the people that actually need houses don't live around here.
Raw material. We need your inputs in this special discussion. What is the take of your organization, association, on this issue that is bothering us?
We can be very creative when it comes to designing homes for people, even affordability. Now, you do not have to be as expensive as the others. So for volunteer designers like us, what we can do is to provide affordability for people is to begin to look at the functionality of the space, who is using the space, what's their income, what can they afford. So definitely, if I was going to design a home for client A, it definitely will be different from client B. So that's why when it comes to an interior designer, the prices are different. You cannot say, can I replicate what I have in house A and house B? So but I think what we all need to do now is come together as different associations and collaborate, because the truth is, we're all going through the same challenges, we're all facing the same issues with artisans, we're all facing the same issues with government and all that. So the only way housing will be affordable at the end of the day, even down to the interior, is for all of us to come together and begin to think of creative ways that we can now begin to design functional homes that will be timeless, simple, and basic. That's it. Because the truth is, I see a lot of development going on, right? And like someone rightly said, developers are building for just, I want to make money. Question. You're selling a 4-bedroom duplex to a woman in her 60s. She has arthritis, and you want her to buy it, and how is she going to climb upstairs? It's not functional, it doesn't make sense, but because you want to sell it, you are making her buy that house. It's totally wrong.
Sir, I'm happy you are from the Ministry of Housing, and that really interests me. My question for you, simple, is: do you think these developers can provide us affordable housing? Do you think they're not looking for profit?
Mr. Governor's agenda, it seems to us, he has housing is key. And I've come from the Ministry of Housing, and our whole major objective is to provide affordable housing for the citizenry of Lagos State. And for governments, we've done so much in providing this housing. All the 5 divisions of the Lagos State, we built houses there. Epe, Badagry, Ikeja, name it. We've done that. So I think when in conjunction with the government and the real estate people, we can close the gap. Mr. Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu has opened a window of amnesty to the real estate developers
for them to key to this window, it's ongoing now, meaning that there's a waiver for those that don't have their documents now, like the CEO, planning approval and the rest. They should key to it now so that they can have a seamless development of their projects.
What do you think, or do you have a time frame for all of the work you're doing in terms of covering more, speaking more, having more foot soldiers? Is there a plan? First of all, is there a plan to have more foot soldiers? Because I would say, if I picked up that as a challenge, I want to know what the plan is to have more foot soldiers. And then in the other way, who are these foot soldiers you're working on, right? And then my other point is the time frame.
I'm into agriculture entrepreneur. Yeah, I'm also looking at going to real estate as well. So part of the challenge I have is I've got a lot of friends abroad who are looking at going into buying a home in Nigeria. But I can tell you that 90% of them, they are having lack of trust in the system. Why? Because a lot of land grabbers, illegal properties, wrong agents and all that. So I, for once, I think, as we are here now, we have a lot of stakeholders here. Why can't we have a mobile hub whereby we can have verified properties that can be trusted all over the world?
Recently, a friend of mine, family friend of mine, who has been living in Ikorodu for the past 17 years, they own their own property. They pay their land use charges every year and every other thing. And all of a sudden, for some reason, property is now under court order that the land wasn't bought, the land belongs to another person. Which now goes to the question, who owns these properties? They've been paying land use charges to the federal government or to the government in charge. And now all of a sudden, the family that they bought the land from, somebody else say the land doesn't belong to the family. It is this, it is that. Then now there is a lot of controversies, which begs the question, how do we know when the land is legit? How do we know what property to buy?
I'm a tech engineer, so obviously I work in the tech industry. So from 2011 till 2023, I've invested over $400,000 in real estate, okay? So this event, it was my friend that convinced me to come. But I want to ask a question because I'm looking for answers. Now, from 2011 till now, all these funds I've invested in real estate in Nigeria, I can tell you that I've not made ₦1 profit from it. But the one that broke my heart recently was last year. I met somebody that convinced me to buy a property on this island. So it was a resident apartment, which I actually paid over $100,000 for. So now we are trying to rent out that property, but I did my calculation and I noticed it's going to take me like 20 years to actually get my investment back. So when I heard about this conference, I said, okay, I'm going to meet some technocrats that are going to enlighten me. Maybe I'm not doing it proper. I think I'm missing something.
Location. 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 Sorry, I need to be talking to the man. A friend of mine just retired from the Air Force. And he's one of the seniors. And he came to me. Before that time, I think he had a problem. He has been doing a lot of real estate buying, just like you. So now enter into one real estate developer that he paid $150 million to. And then for 4 years, they have been taken from one side to another side to another side. So in that side, it was somewhere, and then somebody told him, "Well, don't go and meet this person. If they hear his name, immediately they will respond." So the man came to my office, they write their normal user address, and as usual, I received it. And they said he has a challenge, and I said, "You are a military man. Why can't you go and carry soldiers and throw the man to the bush? Why are you coming to bring me a civilian? I only get mouths and media. So what is the matter?" The man says about that. I try to be very careful with the guy. He has pushed me to the wall. In fact, he has taken him to court.
one son is handling the case in court, and he has paid a lot of money, but you know the system. Come tomorrow, come in 3 months, come in 6 months. It's one of the biggest threats to the real estate business in Nigeria. And it's working at the disadvantage of who? The subscribers. Where here I know that I have enough money, and I can collect money from this lady. And I'm going to use part of the money I collected from her to keep pushing the case till many years. And that is why I love what Ogunino said, that we need to also seek for some judicial protection for the subscribers. We do that. So, this, my friend, I wrote a letter to the developer that I have this report, I want to hear his own story. And immediately he sent a young lawyer to me to come and meet me. And when the lawyer was to talk to me, he didn't know that my office is full of anything you can call recording. So I drew his attention that I'm recording you. That anything you are saying, so that you don't say, the man recorded me without telling me. So he said, I said, so if we can discuss. I said, discuss what? Did he collect the money? What was the contract? He took me to Kuje. He took me to somewhere in Karu. He has so many houses. So many land. But all those land, Ile ole debe in the next 10 years. Meaning it cannot be a city in the next 10 years. Meaning it's a useless investment. He himself is not sure he will be alive. We have advised the government to link agriculture to housing. My distinguished senator is here, and KBAC and the distinguished senator. Our idea is this. People are moving from my town in Ilesha. They are coming to Lagos every day. They are coming from Ijebu. They are coming to Lagos every day. And now we are having fear of food supply, food insecurity. Because the boys that are going to farm in the north, they can't go to farm again because of kidnappers. So very soon we'll be likely to be having problem of food insecurity. So this, I think, is here already. So they're not going to farm. I just saw somebody now, one former governor, that he has 10,000 acres of land. He could not access it for farming because of kidnappers. So why can't the government encourage people that are in rural areas with increase in agricultural productivity? Let every of our youth go into agriculture.
First on my list here, I have Barrister Festus Adebayo. He is the CEO and the convener of Africa International Housing Show.
This award of recognition and excellence presented to Barrister Festus Adebayo in recognition of your immense contribution in the development of Nigerian housing sector. So we appreciate you, sir.
You are taking this token for onward delivery to the National President of Redan. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Kunle Adeyemi. That's the Vice President, Southwest Redan. Can you please jam your hands together for this man?
Award of recognition and excellence presented to Dr. Kunle Adeyemi in recognition of your immense contribution to the development of the Nigerian housing sector. So we appreciate you, sir. Thank you for education. We learned a lot from you today. Thank you very much for being in front of the house.
Mr. Toyi Eniola, who is going to collect this beautiful award for onward delivery to Mr. Akim Oguniran, the CEO, Excellence Reality.
We hereby present this award of recognition and excellence presented to Mr. Akim Oguniran in recognition of your immense contribution to the development of the Nigerian housing sector.
For such a wonderful gathering, we thank you for the people you brought together. We thank you for the wisdom, the understanding. We thank you for the deliberation. We thank you for the lives that this gathering has touched. And Lord of my King, we ask that you bless those that put this together, and that the things that we have done today will live beyond what we have seen now in the mighty name of Jesus. When we think back of today, we're going to think back with gladness and joy that we are part of this system. Take all the glory for a successful outing. In Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. Amen.